Autonomous and self-driving vehicles, something I've been talking about for a long time. I'm here to talk about this with Dave Rubin. You know, Dave, before we get to the latest news on this involving Google's autonomous cars, every time I talk about this, I actually get angry feedback from people saying, hey, David, you're wasting your time with this autonomous vehicle stuff. It's never going to be a reality. It's just something completely out of make-believe. And I am honestly shocked that people aren't seeing all of the signs. We have a driverless truck corridor being proposed at the same time that we actually have driverless truck technology. The safety is just so superior to actual drivers. Do you see this sort of anger that exists around, why are you talking about this?
Well, that's actually hilarious that that's what your audience is saying, because every time we do a story about the future, whether it's about robots or technology or artificial intelligence, any of this stuff, I immediately, because I'm a big sci-fi guy, I immediately go to Terminator, where the robots turn on us, we're fighting Skynet, nuclear holocaust, all of that stuff. And everyone always says that to me, oh, you always think everything's going to go horribly wrong. So that's funny. Your audience is saying, we're never going to get these robot cars. And I'm telling my audience that the robot cars are coming to kill us. I love all of these stories because so much is changing so quickly. You know what I mean? I think there's brief moments in history where things really, really change the way we live. We happen to be in a burst right now because of the internet and because of science and technology that life 10 years ago will barely be recognizable from life 10 years from now.
Yeah,
and I think it's really fascinating.
This is what futurists like Ray Kurzweil and many others have described, the sort of acceleration of technological change. And the latest report on Google's autonomous cars says, Google's autonomous vehicles have been involved in 12 accidents since the company began testing them 6 years ago. Over the life of the program, Google has covered nearly 2 million miles with its self-driving cars, and in none of the accidents was the driverless car found to be at fault. Every time I read this, you see articles just focusing on the fact that accidents took place without, number one, discussing what the context of the accidents was, and number two, without comparing it to what the accident rate would be for an individual person driving that number of miles. And I think those are two pieces of data that are being missed when lots of corporate media reports on driverless cars and autonomous vehicle accidents, because these are incredible numbers, Dave.
Okay, so obviously I'm not an automotive expert and I'm not an expert in Google cars, but yeah, there's something strange there. Like, we don't have anything really to compare it to. The idea that none of the accidents were the fault of the Google cars is sort of interesting. But I think that something like this, you're giving up so much control. I know right now, like Uber is really big here in LA. And I always find, like, I'm just hopping into somebody's car. I know nothing about this person. Yeah, you could look and say, oh, well, this guy's got 4 stars or blah, blah, blah. But you're giving up a certain amount of control. And I think when we start giving that control up to machines, it's hugely different. And I think it's going to take us a long, long time to get okay with it. And when there's an accident that involves one of these Google cars, whether it's the fault of the Google car or not, I think that's going to set this thing back tremendously. But I do think it's the future, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, and there's sort of some level of institutional trust involved, right? When you're getting into the Uber car, there's to some degree, you think that the risk that the 4 stars may not really tell you everything you need to know is outweighed by the convenience. When you get onto a commercial airplane, you are placing a significant amount of institutional trust in that the maintenance has been done, the pilots aren't drunk, the pilots aren't suicidal, whatever, right? So I think that to a certain degree, humans have been okay giving that trust. It's just a matter of getting over the hill, so to speak, with the technology.
Yeah, I actually always think that the pilots are drunk and suicidal. That way, when I land, whenever I land, it's like, whoa, that was a bonus. You know what I mean? You have to set low expectations for these things. How long do you think it's going to take till these things really are mainstream?
Mainstream, 100% is hard to say, but I think that there's a very good chance that within 10 years, there will be specific either highways or or transportation routes where you will see predominantly autonomous vehicles. It's not going to be, it takes a long time to phase out all of the manual drive cars that we have. So from a merely economic standpoint, it's going to take a long time. But I think within 10 years, this will be much further ahead than a lot of people think.
Yeah, isn't there an interesting socioeconomic part of this also? Because I would imagine that only rich people, or the higher people up the economic ladder, they're going to be able to afford these things. And assuming that these things get you where you have to go faster, and you're on separate roads that are probably going to be nicer and newer, you're going to really start having two levels of people, where the rich people are getting places faster. I guess rich people are already getting places faster, right? But you're going to really sort of physically separate people by economics.
Yeah, as if they're not already separated by so many elements. And then, of course, there's the jobs element, which a lot of people say, David, this would destroy jobs. This would destroy cab drivers and Uber drivers and those who are driving trucks, etc. But to that, I say, let's look back in history. Has there been any instance where the fear of technology replacing jobs has ultimately prevented that technology from becoming a mainstream? It's never happened.
Yeah, you cannot stop progress. That's just how it is. So last thought on this, because I have to take it to the post-apocalyptic dystopian future. Wouldn't then the real issue with something like this is, again, where we give up so much of our control, meaning our physical control of a car, we give up so much of that to a computer, that really the future terrorism is going to be hackers and cyber terror, when they can hack into our system and suddenly control our cars and have cars crashing into other cars and driving off roads and all that stuff. Like, isn't this just another layer of us becoming embedded with something that we don't fully understand?
That we don't fully understand is sort of subjective. But what I would say to that is the following. With every technological advancement, there has been the fear and ability to misuse or hijack that technology. That's just part of technological advancement. And much like the job loss argument, I don't think that alone is ever going to really justify not moving forward.
I know my audience is going to like that. I go off the deep end. You reel me in. Anyway, what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments right down below.